Merry meet and welcome to Psalmic Saturday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. And moderating for us today on YouTube, I believe is Sarah, but I want to make sure I'm not doing something wrong here, is the lovely Sarah, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Dre. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much, Dre. And thank you to everybody for joining us today for this Psalm spell. We do have a premiere of another Psalm spell that's happening today at 11 a.m. Pacific time in just a little bit more than 40 minutes from now. So I hope that you can join us on YouTube for that premiere. We will be having a lot of fun as we do. And let's see. Tomorrow we'll have a live stream lecture. I know it's New Year's Eve, but it's during the day. So, I mean, I didn't see the reason for taking a day off. I don't know. I thought we'd be better off just having our normal stream. So I hope that you will join us during the day on the 31st, the last day of the year, for our live stream lecture tomorrow. Then we are off on Mondays, and we'll be back with a bang on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific with our tarot class. And then we have our Witchy Wednesday, Thrilling Thursday, Fearless Friday, Psalmic Saturday, and Soulful Sundays every single day. That's Wednesday through Sunday at 10:15 a.m. Pacific. All right. We have chat threads open on both of these streams. I hope that you avail yourself to those if you like to chat. You're not interrupting anything. If you're chatting about stuff even that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, you enjoy. Now, if you do have a question for me, you can put it in that chat thread, and I will do my best to get to that before the end of the stream. We have a short psalm today, so unless I tend to go on and on, which sometimes I do, we should be done at a decent time. So if there are questions, I should be able to take them. And let's see, we have a new booklet out on the Pentacles of Solomon. So I hope that if you haven't downloaded that, you do that. That's at arielgatoga.com/Solomon-Pentacles. arielgatoga.com/Solomon-Pentacles with a hyphen. And it's just a way to use the Solomon Pentacles that's a little bit more streamlined and in keeping with the angel magic tradition that I walk. So it's at least it's interesting, and if it's a practice that you enjoy, maybe you will get something out of it. I do have other booklets coming out. I had about 6 last week. When are you coming out with the handwriting? When are you coming out with the color magic? And I am so sorry it's taken me so long. I'm on it. I promise I'm on it. It's just that both of those booklets are or courses. I'm not sure how they're going to come out. They might be coming out as courses. They're very detailed, and it's just, I want to make sure that I get it right. So I'm fairly close. I really am. So we'll have those soon. Thank you so much for your interest. I really appreciate it. All right. If you want to donate to us, you can go to paypal.me/arielgatoga, paypal.me/arielgatoga. If you're online on YouTube, either on live or on a restream, you could use a super sticker, super chat, or super thanks if you feel like giving a donation on the platform. And if none of that suits your fancy, but you still want to donate, there's other options such as Apple Pay and credit cards on our website. You just go to arielscorner.com and look in the footer. There's a place to sign up for our website. There's links to all of our social media, including our Discord server and our private Facebook group, so that you can be part of our community. And also, like I said, a donation link that gives you other options besides PayPal. All right. I guess that's it. That's what we're doing. We're doing it. I think we're doing it. Okay, good. We are doing it as soon as I get my iPad open. Okay. Today we are working on Psalm 87. Psalm 87 is an interesting psalm in that it's used for success in the arts. It's used to bless any situation, and it's also used to dissolve evil. And it's a fun one for artists and creative people who either need inspiration or need to get their work out in the world. And I think we already have a video based on us applying it towards success in the arts. Today, I want to use Psalm 87 to experience the divine presence. We've had some people asking, do we have any videos on experiencing divine presence? Well, this is a great psalm for just that very experience. So that's how I want to orient Psalm 87 today. But if you have other purposes in mind that you want to use Psalm 87, you can use it for those purposes as well. The way we work Psalm Magic is simple and effective. We take the psalm that we're working and we speak it out loud all the way through once without stopping. We call this an incantation. After we're done with that, we go back through that psalm and we take it verse by verse in order, and we dig for a certain occult or hidden seeds of magic that are behind the words in the psalm. We just dig for them. We use our imaginations and our minds, and we ask to be guided and led, and we just do our best to find as many as we can. The secret to that is that there are so many of those seeds of wisdom in a psalm, you'll never ever find them all. So it's okay to just keep going and going with it, and you'll find more and more each time. It's almost like the psalm changes. It's like, I don't remember it saying that. So it's a beautiful, beautiful practice. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're taking those seeds that you do find, and by going through this process, you're planting those seeds in the fertile grounds of your mind, where they take root, they grow, they blossom forth, and then they bear fruit after their kind. And that's what we're going to do together right now, you and I, with Psalm 87. His foundation is in the holy mountains. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God, Selah. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me, both Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia. This man was born there. And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her, and the highest himself shall establish her. The Lord shall count when he writeth up the people that this man was born there, Selah. As well the singers as the players on instruments shall be there. All my springs are in thee. The scholars of the book of Psalms scratch their heads when they read this psalm, because it's somewhat enigmatic. It's just a little odd. It's not quite like other psalms, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's so good for artists and creative people, is because it's like what is that? But it's a beautiful psalm. It starts out with it doesn't address God. It doesn't address the Lord. It doesn't address infinite intelligence. It's a speaker, just speaking. And it says, it's telling the congregation or whoever he's talking to or whoever they are talking to, his foundation is in the holy mountains. So we're looking for the presence of infinite intelligence. Where is the presence of infinite intelligence? It starts out by telling us right where to go, right where to look. In the holy mountains. Well, the holy mountain of Zion is the place in your mind where you can elevate your thoughts as high as possible. And when you climb up that mountain by elevating your thoughts as high as possible, doing your best, you don't have to be perfect, infinite intelligence meets you there. So it's within you is where this presence lies. The Lord loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Well, what are the gates of Zion? We know Zion is that holy hill, that part of our mind that is elevated. The gates of Zion are the entry point, the point of entry in our mind to where infinite intelligence and we have connection. How do we open those gates? We don't. We let infinite intelligence open those gates for us. And it says, the Lord loveth the gates of Zion. So that means infinite intelligence just adores being with you, just adores you, and adores having you know its presence. And its greatest pleasure comes from being with you and knowing that you know infinite intelligence. More than anything, more than any other place in your mind, more than anything else about you, loves this part of you where you are together. And so if you want to really explore what God's love means, what, according to this psalm, God's love exists at its most potent form where you and God are communicating, are one. Your personal relationship with this infinite intelligence is what's most important, more important than anything, more important than all the other dwellings of Jacob. Well, you're Jacob. That's who you are. Let's just be clear on that. Jacob is that patriarch in the Bible that was renamed Israel, and Israel is another name for our soul. So it's a story of how we, as a humanity, are blessed as souls. And so when we are renamed from Jacob to Israel, it's infinite intelligence acknowledging the difference between who we are as egos and who we are as souls. And infinite intelligence doesn't condemn us as egos. Didn't condemn Jacob for making mistakes, didn't condemn Jacob for being arrogant, didn't condemn Jacob for anything. God's response to all of Jacob's mistakes was to rename Jacob Israel. It's to say, yeah, but I know you as a soul. So more than any other part of Jacob, God loves the dwelling place. God loves the meeting place, God loves the gates of Zion. Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God, Selah. The city of God is the place where you dwell with infinite intelligence. And glorious things are spoken of this city. Now, the dwelling place of God is also known as Shekinah, and that's one of the reasons why it's spoken of as she in the Psalms. The city of God is the dwelling place of God, and that is where we and God are in consort. And so it's almost as if the Shekinah is the translator between us and infinite intelligence. We need a dwelling place. We need a place to meet. And that's where it is, right in the city. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Let's just take this whole verse. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia. This man was born there. Okay, so these were the supposed enemies of ancient Israel in the Bible. In this poem, they are equally loved by infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence doesn't hold anything against any of them. Infinite intelligence is speaking of a place where there are no enemies. Speaking of a place where all is well. Speaking of this universal love. Now, we can really see that on a universal level if we want to. We can see that there's this place where all nations in the world can come together and be like spiritual brethren, and that's a beautiful thing to think. But in Psalm magic, it's more powerful for us to think of all of these things as being parts of ourselves. So all of those parts of us that seem to be enemies of Israel, enemies of our soul, all those ego thoughts, all of those cruelties and hungers and lusts and fears and mistakes and all the stuff that we believe keeps us separate from infinite intelligence. Infinite intelligence doesn't see it that way. God blesses each and every one of them, sees everything as being part of a unity. And so there's nothing that you can offer to the infinite that is going to be rejected, that's going to cause you to be rejected by God. You can't. You can try really hard to prove to God, see, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Look at me. I'm Rahab. I'm Babylon. I'm Philistia. I'm Tyre. I'm Ethiopia. I'm bad. And God's not going to buy it. God's going to love you anyway, no matter what. And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her, and the highest himself shall establish her. See, everybody was born in Zion. Everybody's got a soul. Everybody's worthwhile. But when we look at it as in terms of parts of ourselves, there is no spot where God is not. God did not make junk. These are ways of looking at that make a little bit more sense in 21st century language. There's no part of you that is not of the gods. You can't undo your holiness. And the reason why we have a hard time experiencing the presence of God or the presence of the infinite is because we are preoccupied with the idea that we don't deserve it. We are preoccupied with the idea that we are not godly, that we are not holy, that we are not worthy. That's us. We are preoccupied with these ideas of problems and where we don't make the grade and we fall short and we are the fallen, we are sinful, all of that. I guarantee you God doesn't see you that way. God never has and never will. God sees you as one thing and one thing only, beloved. And so if you can get that, if you can at least just try that on for size, experiencing the presence of the infinite is easy because you're no longer resisting it. You're no longer worried that the presence of God's going to hurt you. You're no longer worried that you're going to be punished or sent to hell or some nonsense like that humans have used against us all of these generations in order to keep us in line and in order for us to do certain things. Right? None of that comes from God. So it says, this and that man was born in her, and the highest himself shall establish her. So God establishes you as a soul. That's what happens. God establishes you as a soul, and since God establishes it, nobody can go against it. And you've already been established as a soul. You are that because you're an extension of God. You're just as important as everybody else. And in God's eyes, there's no differentiation. There's no, this is a great man, this is a great woman, this is an insignificant person, this is a sinner, this is a saint, this is the faithful, this is the non-faithful, these people go to hell, these people go to heaven. None of that exists in God's mind. God knows the truth about every single one. And the truth is that you were created as perfect. And since you're perfect as a soul, that's the only thing that matters. And if you want to experience the presence of the infinite, you have to understand that all of the stuff about you that's not as your soul, that's not the way God created you, it doesn't really exist except for in your mind and in the storyline of this world. And God could not care less about the storyline of this world. God cares about you. The Lord shall count when he writeth up the people that this man was born there. So God's going to have this great judgment. That's the story, right? We've heard about this. This is going to be the last judgment where everybody gets lined up and God gives his opinion of you. That's the story that many of us were taught. Well, in a way, that's true, that God will eventually give you his judgment of you. And I'm just saying his just because it's an easy way to describe this. But what we don't understand is that judgment has already been established. And God thinks you're fabulous. And you can't change that. And you need to stop trying, because you're trying to prove to yourself and to the universe and to God how unworthy you are and how bad you are is the only thing keeping you apart from experiencing the presence of God. Because without all of that stuff, it's just natural that you experience the presence of God because that's who you are. You're an actual extension of that. The finger doesn't think it's not part of the body, the rest of the body, right? The head doesn't go, oh, I'm just so separate from this body. That would be silly. But for some reason, we think that. Some reason we believe that we are just completely autonomous on our own, vulnerable, scared, more powerful, less powerful, whatever it is, whatever our story is. And we are just caught in that illusion, caught in that nightmare, caught in that hallucination. It's like we were given this hit of LSD and we're having this horrible trip about being something that we're not. And God doesn't see any of that about you, doesn't buy any of that. God knows the truth about you. The Lord shall count when he writeth up the people that this man was born there. You were born. You were born. You were created. You were made in this holy city, in Zion. That's who you are. You cannot disestablish your inheritance. You can only believe that you're doing such. You can't. You can't stop being glorious and wonderful. You just can't. But you can dream it. As well the singers as the players on instruments shall be there, as all my springs are in thee. This is the verse that all the scholars are like, huh? And it's a beautiful verse. As well the singers as the players on instruments shall be there in Zion. So on one hand, every part of you will be celebrating when you come together. When you're feeling and experiencing the presence of God, it automatically attunes every aspect of your being, which are the singers and the players on instruments, to be happy, to join into that song. And what happens when an orchestra is playing together and a choir is singing together? They're all coming together in harmony. And they're doing it in such a way that each and every player is essential, and that what's going on within that harmony is a beautiful reflection of how the universe operates. The universe operates in a similar kind of harmony. And so the reason why we love to listen to those kinds of harmonies is because it reminds us of what it is, what the truth is. And so that kind of harmony is actually happening in you. And if you can if you can experience the presence of God, not only are you experiencing something that you used to think was external to you, you're experiencing how your entire being responds to that presence, which is singing and playing in harmony naturally with that energy, with that force of creation. And the singers are the expressions of voice, where that's how you express yourself spiritually, and the players of instruments are the doers and the things that you do as you express yourself spiritually. So all you do and all you say when you are at one with infinite intelligence and experiencing the presence of God is in harmony with the will of God, or also what's called here Zion, which is that place where we and God are one. And the place where we and God are one is where we exist as souls. And we as souls can't make mistakes, can't be anything but harmonious. As well, all my springs are in thee. Now, when you think about the springs, of course, we're not talking about like springs, like bed springs. We're talking about springs of water that comes up in the earth. When you think about what a spring is like in the desert, it's a miraculous gift from the infinite that your thirst is quenched out of nowhere. And see, that's what happens when we are experiencing the presence of God. Everything that we need springs up and is just there for us. We don't have to go searching for it. We don't have to go find it. It just springs up in us like water from the desert. And that's exactly how it should be. And what looks like a miracle to us from the point of view of infinite intelligence is just commonplace. It's just like normal. But the reason why it seems like a miracle to us is because it's so different than the way we've been experiencing our lives, because we've been experiencing everything but the presence of God. We've been experiencing everything that is not the presence of God. And everything which is not the presence of God isn't true, isn't real, and it's not God's will. And therefore we don't experience the springing up of all of the good. We don't experience that kind of prosperity, that kind of love, that kind of harmony, that kind of joy, that kind of happiness. We just don't, because we've removed ourselves from it, or at least attempted to do so. When we come back to a psalm like this and say, wait a minute, I want to experience the presence of the infinite, then we are realigning ourselves to the way things are supposed to be. And when you realign yourself with the way things are supposed to be, the things that aren't supposed to be stop happening. And it seems like a miracle, when in reality, all it is very normal from God's perspective. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, I'm sorry, before we do that. So you just keep coming back to this psalm each and every day with whatever it is that you brought to the psalm. You just keep coming back to it, and you reapply and you redig and you do your best to keep going with the magic of the psalm that you're working until whatever you brought to the psalm starts to feel like it's being affected. You start to have a sense of peace, a sense of certainty that all is well. And you really do start relaxing and not worrying and fretting so much about whatever it was that you brought to the psalm. And that's just an indicator to you from your deep mind that it's working. And so you don't have to do this anymore. You can move on to something else because this spell has taken. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be. Okay, let's see if we had any questions. We did not. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you can make it in about 15 minutes to our premiere, and maybe make it back tomorrow for our lecture if you have time. We so appreciate you being here, and thank you very much to the amazing moderators today. We had Sarah on YouTube and Dre on Twitch, and we will see you all real soon. Blessed be.